be featured in the next fully equipped article, and I call this deck the VB Servo Gadget. Basically what it is it's a deck that's all about transforming cards into artifacts. And what makes the perfect match for this deck in the campaign is the Dwarf Mage. The Dwarf Mage is a pretty cool campaign character class and race to play, because the Dwarf Mage starts with 1 armor, which means every time you are attacked by the enemy AI, one of the damage that's coming through you will be negated every single turn. And that resets at the end of each turn. So on your turn and his turn, your armor will reset. And that bonus for Mage class is really nice, because Mage starts at the lowest health out of all the classes currently in the game. So we only have 16 health, but we have that armor. Basically, we'll add at least 4 to 5 health to your health total for the game, because the AI is usually always swinging, doing stuff, consecutive turns before they actually take you down. So you can consider the Mage class as a dwarf to be more around like maybe 21, 22, 23 health, which is a lot higher than most Mage classes with that armor. And on top of that, the Dwarf Mage has its racial ability that for a amount of spell power that increases every time you use it, you can transform a troop in play into a random artifact. So sometimes you can get some really amazing stuff, but sometimes you also whiff. Sometimes it's better to use on your opponent's cards that are like really powerful. But in this particular deck, we always want to use that and let me get the right name for it. What do they call it here? It is called Technomorph. So we're always going to want to use Technomorph on our own troops. And what it says is, for 5 spell power, transform target troop into a random artifact. Okay, so the way that we're going to be getting spell power in this deck is mainly just through our charge power, but we're also playing lots of charges in this deck. So it's going to be another way for us to continually use our charge power to get more spell power and continue to use this Technomorph ability. But this Technomorph ability is not the only power of this deck. And as you can see in my talent tree here, so we're at max level 9. We go up here to get +2 health. We start with the bonus spell power. Then we have, at the start of the game, a random non-resource card in the top 5 cards if our deck gets -2 cost. And then we get this self-knowledge that says we start with a maximum hand size increased by 1. So we're going to have 8 cards in our starting hand. I also really like spell sprites, which says at the beginning of the game, you have 2 spell sprites in your deck. And then for, if you had 100 or more cards, you would have 4 spell sprites in your deck. But a spell sprite is, let me see, can I click on this? Yeah, so it's a 0 cost troop, elemental troop that has flight. And when it enters play, you draw a card and you gain 2 spell power. So this is one of the perfect early game targets too for artifact transformation, because it's a troop. It's not an artifact yet. And even if it was an artifact, it would still be fine to play on, but we can use our transmog ability on him to make him a random artifact. So that is something I really like. And then we have learning, which it says, for each learned spell you've unlocked, randomly determine if you begin the game with 1 spell power. And then we have a learned spell, which is telekinesis, and it says pay 6 spell power, put target card into controller's hand. This can be used on your opponent's troops, or it can be used on your own troops. So that is our build out, and we'll talk more about Technomorph in a bit. 1 second. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So, alright, so let's dive right into the deck and talk about how it works. So I'm going to jump around in the deck build. You can kind of see what it looks like here. It's just a single screenshot. But really what this deck is doing is it is utilizing VB1311. Now I don't even use any of the equipment for VB1311, but the nice thing about the Dwarf race is that by the time you hit level 8, you have access to 3 rare, 3 uncommon, and 3 common artifacts in your deck builds. I believe you can also play 2 legendaries. Yeah, so this is a shard grid that you hit at level 8. So 3 uncommon, common, rare, and 2 legendary for artifacts. You can see that that's not the same for Ruby and Sapphire, where you only can play 2 rare. So we're focusing very heavily on rare artifacts, and there's some really nice synergies with a few rare artifacts, and one of them is this VB1311. So this card is acquired in the Frostring Arena. It's pretty easy to get, and it says when it enters play, it gets one of the following at random: Flight, Spell, Shield, Steadfast, Life Drain, or Invincible. And when a card we control transforms into an artifact, VB1311 gets +1/+1. So this deck is going to be taking a lot of advantage of that second line there where it says, when a card you control transforms into an artifact, VB1311 gets +1/+1. Now he's unique, so having multiple copies of this in their hand is not good, but that's where a second card comes in, and that card is Doppelgadget. So Doppelgadget is a shapeshifter artifact. It's not a troop, it's just an artifact, but it says at the start of your turn, you may have this transform into a replica of target non-shapeshifter artifact with cost 4 or less that you control. This retains this power. So it can turn into something, and then at the beginning of your next turn, you can turn into something else or the same thing. Because it's a replica, it's not a copy. That replicas do not copy uniqueness tags. So this can turn into a VB1311, and it doesn't have to keep the uniqueness tag, so both of them will stay in play. So if you use this to turn into a VB1311, it will become a 2/2 VB1311 first, and then because it had transformed from an artifact into an artifact, you're also going to get the +1/+1 on the original VB1311 and on the Doppelgadget version, so that both VB1311s in play will turn into 3/3s. The original will keep the uniqueness tag, and this one will be a replica with no uniqueness tag. So you could technically have 1 VB1311 in play and 3 Doppelgadgets all turning into a VB1311 and all getting +1/+1s for the transformation. So these are the 2 main rares that we're focused on in the deck. And of course, you can't forget about Adaptatron. So we put 3 of them in here too, and we have the Life Drain chest piece to kind of help us out in some encounters. I mean, by himself, Adaptatron can win you games, so it's great to just play in this deck as well. The other card that we're using for transformations in this deck, well, there's 3 other cards that combo very well with transformations. The first one I want to talk about that is out of the ordinary is a Servo Servant. And Servo Servant is a artifact that says at the start of your turn, gain 1 temporary resource. So if you play it on 3, at the beginning of turn 4, before you play a resource, you already have 4 out of 3 resources. So it'll give you an additional resource at the beginning of each turn. And we're running the equipment on it that I don't think a lot of people have probably ever considered playing. It says when an artifact enters play under your control, this transforms into a battle bot, and it gets, at the end of the turn, revert this. Now, one of the cool things about Servo Servant turning into an artifact is that will also trigger VB1311's transformation +1/+1 buff, and it'll do this for free as soon as it's played. So you'll get that transformation right away without having to pay that bonus 1 for the text right here to transform into a battle bot. Now, Crota and I found something out that's cool. It's like reverting is not transforming. So when it reverts at the end of the turn, that does not also give you +1/+1 on your VB1311. But anyway, this glove equipment's nice because it allows you to not have to pay the cost every time you're playing artifacts in an artifact heavy deck. Okay, So the two other cards that combo with our transforming is this Construction Guild Underboss that says, when a card you control transforms into an artifact, ready it, then gain a charge. So the second half of our deck isn't about transforming, it'll be about gaining charges. So you'll see why that's important. It also helps us get more spell power, which will then help our Technomorph, which will transform our troops into artifacts. But the other cool thing is it'll ready that artifact that transforms. So if we're running any plans, which the plans require us to exhaust them to transform, this will ready those plans so that you'll see the plan. I'm only playing one plan in the deck, but that plan can then immediately attack if we even choose to transform it at the beginning of our turn and not on the opponent's turn. So the one plan we're running in combo with the Construct Guild Underboss and our transformation effects is Construction Plans Warhulk. We're also running the head equipment on this, so that as soon as we play it, a worker bot's going to be put into play. So as long as we exhaust 5 dwarfs and robots over the course of a few turns, this will transform into a Warhulk, and when it transforms into a Warhulk, it's also considered artifact transformation, so that will also trigger VB1311's attack and defense pump. So we're getting a lot of things that are affecting that. So we talked about all of those cool things that like combo with transformation. We also mentioned Adaptatron, that's just like the cheese stands alone guy over here. So now the other thing we're going to talk about is how the deck synergizes with robots and with charges. So we're playing Reactor Bot, which is when you gain a charge, this gets +2/+2 this turn. And we're also running its equipment that says, then up to one target other robot you control gets +1/+1 this turn. So we're gonna give other robots in play buffs every time we gain charges. Then we're just playing a bunch of robots, like the Charge Bot, that's gonna give us a charge as soon as it enters play. Combos with Reactor Bot. Then we have an Electroid, that's just a 1-drop 3/4, but it's a robot, so it'll benefit from the charges. And it's big, and it only costs 1. And then we have 2 Charge Holds that are going to give us 2 charges when they enter play. It's kind of a finisher card that we include towards the end of the deck. And then we have 3 Armatrons that are also robots, and it says, we're running the weapon equipment that says, when this enters play, all robots you control get +1/+1. So not only will itself get +1/+1, so it's a 3/3 for 3, but all of our other robots will get +1/+1 permanently, including the VB1311 and then any doppel gadgets that are turned into VB1311s or something else in play. And then of course we have the Gearsmith to fish for artifacts that we want to play and reduce their cost. And finally we have this new card here, Crackling Tide. I've been having a lot of fun running this with the feed equipment. It reduces its cost to 1, because it reduces 2 to 1. And it says, put target troop into its controller's hand, gain a charge. You can use this on your opposing AI troops in play, or you can use it on your own troop to replay it. Maybe you want to buff up your troops on the board again with an Armatron, so you can bounce an Armatron and play it again. So I really like this card. It's nice to just splash in 3 of them to have a nice little bonus effect in the game. So that is the deck. We're running 22 shards. It's fast. Its curve ends on 4, but really the curve is all about 3 drops. So as long as we get to 3, it's great. Because we're playing Mage, we already have a lot of cards in our hand, so getting those 3 shards isn't very hard, and we have Soothsaying to fall back on if our draw is not going well. So I really like this Dwarf Mage deck, and I guess now that we've talked a lot about the deck, I've also showed the talents. I'll just flash them up again here. So Spell Sprites to Telekinesis, and +2 starting health to increased card size. So we can go into the campaign and play it. So let's do that now. Alright, loading it up. Okay, so Bryce. I'm gonna scoot up a little bit. I might get a little louder or talk a little quieter here. So it's 4:30. My girls are probably gonna wake up soon too. Might have to break for that. but we can kind of go through here and I'll show you how the deck works. That sounds pretty good. I'll keep it. So looks like our line will be like turn 1, just drop a Gearsmith, find something good to play on turn 2. Alright, reduce cost charge bot. Now we'll go for the Adaptatron. So we can play a Gearsmith and Adaptatron next turn, or we can just play the construction plans. It's really, we have a choice. I think we're gonna go ahead and do the Gearsmith into the Adaptatron. We also will have a reduced cost reactor bot. Go ahead and block here. Alright, so here we're going to play Reactor Bot. Resource. And we get to buff our Adaptatron. And we dropped the construction plans. And we're going to pass turn and transform. Now, we could transform the Warhol plans on the enemy's turn, so that it's ready to go, or we can wait until we have the Construction Guild underboss and play and transform. I don't think there's a disadvantage to doing it that way, because we actually will get a bonus charge. So let's do that. We'll save the Worker Bot to transform it. Oh wow, we got a second one. Alright, well, that plan kind of backfired a little bit, but not too much. So we're going to play our Construction Guild underboss, and we're going to lock down our Worker Bot to transform. Because we transformed with this in play, it readies that artifact, so our Warhulk is still ready to attack. And, let me see here. We'll use another transformation effect, will give us another charge. And we can use another transformation effect. We'll actually use this on the Worker Bot. Wow, awesome, which gave us another charge also. And we're gonna go ahead and swing with these three. And I'm going to give Life Drain to a Reactor Bot, so we're going to pop up in health quite a bit. And I'll play an after the effect Charge Bot, even though I probably should have done that pre-combat. Before we end the turn, we can even exhaust these three and get another charge. Alright. So next turn, we pretty much have the game. It's just a matter of how we want to order our play. Okay, so we have enough for telekinesis. Play this for a charge. Alright. So we'll just swing in with everything and see how he blocks. Well, that kind of sucks. He did not block our Adaptatron, oddly. So we're going to deal just one shy of lethal. Let me see here. 2, 1, 1. Yep, just one shy of lethal. And then he healed for a bit too. Okay, so next turn we got this. Oh, he locked me down. That wasn't very nice. Now here's our VB1311. He got Flight, which is a very nice ability. And something really cool that we can do here that I did not see earlier is we can actually telekinesis our own Adaptatron, which should allow it to unexhaust, and then we can give it speed. So that should allow us to get in for lethal. I'm actually going to just protect him by pumping him up here. Oh, we're still one short. I'm just not very good at math tonight. And there goes my kids. So after this encounter, I think I might have to take a break and get them up if they keep crying. You might be able to play one real quick one. Sometimes they cry, but they're not ready to get up yet. Yeah, I'll give them a little bit more time. All right. So that went fairly well, besides me making some bad calculations. This hand's questionable because I only have one shard, but the spell sprite's going to give me access to Soothsaying right away, so we're going to keep this. And he milled a shard, of course. Of course. Alright, so we got a shard, that's great. We're going to use our spell sprite. We got another shard, okay, we're in business. What I like about this dungeon too is you start with the Deadeye Ripper, which can be technomorphed. Another good target for the VB1311. We got a 1-cost Servo Servant also, so we have a Servo Servant Adaptatron play next turn. We could also just kick off with the Construction Guild underboss if we wanted. Which, oh shoot. I think Charge Hulk actually in this scenario is the worst card. Ooh, and a Reactor Bot. Okay, so we're going to do Reactor Bot. I'm going to do Servo Servant after the charge. And we'll go in with our VB1311. Now the cool thing about this too is because Technomorphic is instant, you could use it as instant pump for our VB1311, which definitely pays off when your VB1311 has life gain. That really sucked. He happened to hit my Reactor Bot with his Chupacabra ability, which, you know, if I didn't pass all my priorities, we would have been able to deal with pretty easily, because I had telekinesis energy up. All right, let's see what we get off the randomness. A bottle of latte. We'll transform this. And I am definitely going to have to get my daughter after this game. She is crying. Okay, so we have a few different things we can do here. I think the best thing might be the Servo Servant, because it'll get double transformation triggers, making this a 7/7. And it also gives us enough resources to bounce one of the enemy troops, which I think I'll probably want to do. Yeah, we're gonna want to bounce the grub crawler here prior to damage. And I think we may have lethal here. Yep, got him down to 0. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna do the rest of this video after a while. Okay, see you in a bit.